Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Why American healthcare is the worst in the developed world. Let's find out. My name's Connor. I like to watch things and stuff. Let's go. Original link to the video, top of the description. Right under that, link to the Discord. Click on it, send you right over there.
Is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Get free access to Nebula, the new streaming platform built by and for creators, when you sign up for CuriosityStream at the link below.
I wonder if you could tell me how expensive you think calling an ambulance out to your location is in America.
Okay, is there a price for that?
Yes.
Jeez, $100? $100?
$2.5 grand.
For what? Why?
They billed our insurance company over $3 million for the cost of transplant. I don't know what people do without insurance. How could you even begin to pay that?
$3 million
She said,
for what?
The bill is up to $80,000 already, and she said, Mrs. Weinkauf, I hope you realize that you're responsible for this bill. I thought, what am I going to do? I've worked my whole life. Is this how my life is going to end?
In a previous episode, I briefly touched on the failures of the American healthcare system. That section of the video prompted all sorts of responses in the comments, mostly from Europeans who were horrified to learn that Americans have to pay for an ambulance ride to the hospital, but also a handful of brave patriots who claim, without evidence, that the American healthcare system is the best in the world. Woo! This video is for the
I don't know.
I'm
learning.
Let's jump right in. I'm going to throw a bunch of statistics at you, and then we'll look at the root cause of the problem. America spends more money per capita on healthcare than any other nation on Earth. You would think that this expenditure would guarantee the best care in the world. That is not the case. In fact, despite being the most expensive healthcare system on Earth, consuming over 16% of our GDP, it's one of, if not the least effective in the developed world. We spend over $10,000 per capita on healthcare, and not only is the quality of care subpar, we don't even cover everybody. Compare this to places like Germany, who pay drastically less per capita and guarantee coverage to all their citizens. There were over 27 million uninsured Americans in 2018, and that number will have skyrocketed in recent months, thanks to the millions of layoffs across the country. Even before the epidemic, we had more uninsured and underinsured citizens than any other developed nation. In addition to not covering a large portion of the population, even those with excellent, by American standards, health insurance struggle to pay medical bills. Over 25% of insured people reported having difficulty paying for the exorbitant cost of their treatment. Of this group, 63% had to pay most or all of their savings to cover the medical bills, and 42% had to get a second job. Life-saving drugs in America often cost 10 times what they cost in other countries. For example, in Canada, one vial of insulin costs $32. In the United States, the same drug from the same factory costs $300. And that's not even an extreme example. Take the HIV drug Truvada.
Guys,
in Australia, it costs just
what's the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes, if anyone knows?
In the United States, the same drug from the same factory costs $300. And that's not even an extreme example. Take the HIV drug Truvada. In Australia, it costs just $8. In the United States, it costs $2,000, despite US taxpayers footing the bill for its development. Every year, over 500,000 people go bankrupt trying to pay their medical bills. In a country where 40% of the population can't afford a surprise $400 expense, an ambulance ride to the hospital will cost you more than twice that amount. And all of this is happening in the richest country on Earth. If we have the resources, and we're so much better than all the other countries, why is our healthcare system so broken? Here's the thing, it's not broken. It's functioning exactly as you'd expect it to. America's healthcare system is for profit. That means instead of providing care because it's the ethical thing to do, they only do it because there's a big check involved. Back in the 30s, Blue Cross and Blue Shield were the two main health insurance providers in the US. In those days, they operated as nonprofits and wouldn't turn anyone away for any reason. Then, after World War II, employers started offering health insurance as a benefit, and between 1940 and 1955, the percentage of insured Americans jumped from 10% to over 60%. This new demand for health insurance caught the eye of many business people, and the for-profit healthcare industry was born. By 1951, big names like as a benefit went away for, and between 1940 and 1955, the percentage of insured Americans jumped from 10% to over 60%. This new demand for health insurance caught the eye of many business people, and the for-profit healthcare industry was born. By 1951, big names like Aetna and Cigna were major players in the industry, which continued to grow through the 70s and 80s. In the 80s, the country began to see its first for-profit hospitals, operated by large investors who owned multi-hospital chains. By 1981, 1 in 7 hospitals in the US was for-profit. Suddenly, medical bills became a lot longer and more convoluted. Every little thing became an itemized expense, from tissues to plastic cups to being able to hold your baby after it's born. The hospital's transition from philanthropy to corporation was complete. This is not normal in other countries. America had taken...
I'm not trying to dismiss everything else you said about...
being able to hold your baby after it's born.
It's like, oh, a beautiful baby. Oh, keep pushing. Oh, beautiful baby girl. Look at her. Cut the umbilical cord. Oh, can I see my baby for the first time? Sure. That'll be $3,000. Sorry.
The hospital's transition from philanthropy to corporation was complete. This is not normal in other countries. America had taken the intensely cruel step of taking something sacred, the health and well-being of its citizens, and slapping a price tag on it. With this commodification of health came unsurprising side effects. Average American life expectancy is lower than other wealthy countries and has actually begun to decrease in recent years compared to other countries slowly increasing. The US has the highest infant and maternal mortality rates of any developed country. The US has higher rates of medical errors than other countries. Adults in most other comparable countries have quicker access to a doctor or nurse when they need care, contrary to what American...
If all of this is true, we suck at this stuff. What? So... It started in the beginning, and then the kind of American mentality of profit just kind of, hey, I'm not an America hater. I love this country. We have a lot of flaws. I'm learning about them now. But how is it this bad? I'm learning.
Healthcare advocates would have you believe. To make a long story short, in just about every study on the effectiveness of healthcare systems in developed nations, America scores very poorly. Most of the time at the very bottom of the list. And other nations are taking notice. Towards the beginning of the coronavirus epidemic, one university in Norway urged its students to come home if they were studying in countries with poorly developed health systems, such as the US. Part of the problem is the American obsession with streamlining or optimization. Anything that doesn't immediately increase profits has to go. Take, for example, the practice of so-called just-in-time delivery of essential equipment such as ventilators. Instead of having an emergency stockpile, including personal protective equipment such as masks and gloves, these items are instead delivered only when the need arises. The idea is to reduce overhead, but in reality it leaves us totally unprepared and under-equipped for a national pandemic. That's why we see pictures of doctors and nurses wearing trash bags, because their hospitals haven't provided adequate protective equipment, and just to be safe, they're firing people who post those kinds of pictures. To their credit, the CDC was planning to address the national shortage of ventilators, but the company to whom they had given the contract was bought out by a larger company, who canceled the project because it wasn't going to be profitable enough. And of course that larger company's name is Covidian, because the architects clearly put an intern in charge of our simulation. I could spend all day listing off instances of absurdly high medical bills, but at the end of the day, some people in America will still defend the practice of for-profit healthcare. Maybe the best way to get through to these people isn't to show them the bills, but to show them what people in other, saner countries think of the bills. So here you go.
Ambulance call out, how much do you think that costs?
Zero payment.
Zero payment?
Yeah, zero payment.
No, because $2,500.
For real?
Look at the look on his face.
No, because $2,500.
For real?
An inhaler.
$100.
Yeah, you're pretty close, it's a bit more.
120.
250 to 350.
For an inhaler?
So 2 EpiPens, okay. How much do you reckon they are?
$80.
600.
$600?
Are you asking people who use EpiPens? Because I'd be like, I don't. I have no idea. I don't.
What? Why?
100? 200?
Dollars.
Yeah.
The average is about 10 grand. It can go up to 30,000.
10 grand? For a baby?
It's okay to laugh, it's a funny video. But these are the types of reaction you get when you explain to anyone in a first world country besides the US just how screwed up our healthcare system is. We're not paying these exorbitant fees for quality care. We're paying for executive bonuses, shareholder value, and lucrative contracts. Pharmaceutical and medical device companies can charge whatever they want, and the US government will never step in. We're one of the only nations on Earth that doesn't regulate the cost of drugs and medical supplies, and companies negotiate directly with hospitals and insurers to get the best terms. Not best for the patient, best for them. Drug costs in America are many times higher than in any other country. Why? because that's how it works in a for-profit system. The dollar holds infinitely more value to these corporations than human well-being. The needs of the people are secondary to the profit motive. The American healthcare system is a system that relies on people getting sick and coming in for treatment, which is why we don't see any investment in public health initiatives. A program like Medicare for All would likely solve this and every other health problem produced by the coronavirus pandemic. Everyone would have been able to see a doctor and get tested, which would have given us more accurate data about the illness and its spread. Hospitals wouldn't have to waste energy dealing with private insurers and fighting them on...
Question. Good video. A lot of points that are opening my eyes for sure, and I don't get how it's this bad, or sort of. But how do you pay... Who sets your say you want to become a cardiologist or a neurosurgeon or an anesthesiologist, who decides your pay? Like, how do you negotiate your pay if it's not a private employer? And so does that mean that doctor salaries would lower or yeah, so how would the doctor negotiate his salary?
On every little thing. And with the profit motive removed from the healthcare equation, the government would have an incentive to prioritize public health to prevent people from getting sick instead of counting on it. That in turn would make us better prepared for the next pandemic. But remember, the system that we have isn't broken. It's functioning exactly as it's meant to. Why do we pay so much money for the worst care in the developed world? And
I like how he says that it's not broken, it's acting, or it's working exactly how it's supposed to, seeing how the kind of American mentality of profit over everything kind of, at the very beginning of insurance, it kind of started there, and it's been working perfectly ever since. It's just not perfectly for the person who's sick.
Importantly, why do we put up with it? If you'd like to learn more about the virus that made it clear just how ill-prepared the US was for a pandemic, I highly recommend you check out the coronavirus epidemic on CuriosityStream. It's a fascinating look at how the world responds to a rapidly spreading virus and the measures we can take to stem the tide of infection. If you watch my videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of CuriosityStream. It's an online streaming service with thousands of nonfiction titles from some of the best filmmakers in the game. You can find tons of great episodes like the coronavirus epidemic, and they've got a bunch of material on technology and outer space, which are some of my favorites. They're giant.
I think one of the big things, by the way, go to the link in the description to help out this channel. I think one of the things that's kind of the elephant in the room, and it's not really an excuse. I think it's with politics. I think America, because it is such a diverse nation, I don't mean diverse in ethnicity or skin color or gender or religion or anything. I mean just diversity in background, and I don't know where I'm going with this. I just think we're a much more fighting against my neighbor, or like competing against someone rather than working with someone kind of mentality. Again, I'm not making any excuses. Many valid points.
Catalog includes content on science, nature, astronomy, technology, and lifestyle, among others. Unlimited
great video. CuriosityStream. If you are interested from watching this video, make sure to use the link in their description here. It helps them out, lets the sponsor know that's where they came from. Cool video. If this gets above 80-75% likes, I'll be shocked. Just because whenever I react, people think I'm apologetic to the system. Let me know I'm wrong. Always ready to learn. See you guys next time.